Hello there, and welcome back to the Science Sleepy Minds. Tonight, your eyes grow heavy, your limbs melt into the mattress, and your mind drifts, not to silence but to spectacle. Strange landscapes stretch before you. Dead relatives drop by unannounced. You fly without wings, and somehow your high school gym teacher is there, except he's also a giant lobster. Welcome to the theater of dreams, where nothing makes sense, and yet everything feels important. Dreaming. It's the most bizarre thing your brain does on a regular basis, and you probably won't survive this lifetime without asking, why? Why do we dream? Are dreams messages from the beyond, emotional cleanup routines, or just your neurons throwing a party with no chaperones? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're feeling chatty, post your location and local time in the comments. Let's see who else is dream curious tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You close your eyes and the world fades, but instead of true rest, something curious happens. Your mind begins to light up, patterns of color and movement flicker in the dark behind your eyelids. There's a faint sense of somewhere else, a sense of being. This isn't just sleep, this is dreaming. You trudge across a desert that wasn't there 5 minutes ago. The sand is purple. Your best friend is beside you, except they're shaped like a spoon. You're not surprised. This all feels normal. And then, just before it all slips away, you wonder, why am I dreaming this? This question is as old as human consciousness. Ancient Mesopotamians believed dreams were messages from the gods, and in ancient Egypt, priests trained to interpret dreams for pharaohs. Fast forward to modern times, and neuroscientists poke at slumbering brains with high-tech tools, trying to decode what exactly these nightly mental movies are for. And yet, we still don't have a definitive answer. Some researchers believe dreams are random static, a side effect of brain housekeeping during sleep. Others argue they're crucial tools for memory, emotional processing, or even problem-solving. Historians still argue whether early humans used dreams to predict events or to justify decisions after the fact. One thing's for sure, we've never not been obsessed with dreaming. Now, as you drift further into sleep, your brain follows a rhythm, diving through stages like a lazy roller coaster. Light sleep, deeper sleep, then boom, REM, the dream zone, but you'll get there soon enough. Let's pause for a sensory check. In this dream world, your senses don't work the way they do when you're awake. Vision, often vivid but fuzzy on details. Sound, sometimes crisp, sometimes garbled. Smell, rare but possible. Touch, oh yes, you've probably felt yourself falling in a dream. That heart-skip moment, pure simulation. And yet your real heart may race, your real muscles may twitch. You're immersed in a virtual world created entirely inside your head, but your body often plays along. It's a bit like watching a movie with 4D effects, except the movie is written, directed, and starred in by you, and also not you. Welcome to Paradox. Here's a quirky tidbit. In many dreams, light switches don't work. Go ahead, try it next time. Flip a switch, and either nothing happens or everything gets weird. Some theorize this is because your brain doesn't bother simulating electrical systems. It's too busy generating that purple desert. Another oddity, most people dream in color, but a significant number report black and white dreams. Interestingly, more folks reported monochrome dreams in the 1940s and 50s. Historians still argue whether this was influenced by black and white films and TV or simply misremembering. Let's also consider time. Dream time is strange. You might experience what feels like hours, only to wake and find you've been asleep for 10 minutes. Conversely, whole hours can pass in sleep with no dream memory at all. Your brain bends time in dreams the way it bends reality. Now you may ask, why don't we remember all our dreams? Well, dream memory is fickle. You're most likely to recall dreams if you wake during REM sleep. And even then, details fade fast, unless you write them down or replay them mentally. Your brain treats dreams like pop-up ads, attention-grabbing but mostly disposable. Still, some dreams stick. A childhood nightmare, a recurring scenario, a dream so vivid it leaves emotional residue all day. Dreams, it seems, can matter, sometimes deeply, even if we don't understand why. As you relax further, think of the dream world as your mind's sandbox. Here, you rehearse fears, relive memories, solve puzzles, and create worlds, all while your body rests. Some scientists call this offline processing. Others just call it weird. And speaking of weird, let's not forget the dream inception moment, when you realize inside the dream that you're dreaming. Lucid dreams. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That's a topic for later. Tonight, as you lie here, ready to slip beneath the surface, know this. You're about to enter a realm both familiar and alien, crafted by the same brain that pays bills and checks email, but now unleashed from reality's rules. So why do you dream? The truth is, no one knows for sure, but your brain has reasons even if it's not telling. And with that, the desert sand turns to ocean waves, your spoon-shaped friend turns into a cloud, and you float peacefully into the next layer of sleep. You sink deeper into the dark, soft layers of sleep, passing through a world without thought, without story, until suddenly the curtain rises. Colors burst behind your eyelids. You're moving, maybe flying, maybe running. Someone is calling your name, but it sounds like music. Welcome to REM sleep. This is where the dream magic really happens. REM stands for rapid eye movement, which, surprise, is exactly what your eyes are doing under those closed lids, flicking side to side like they're watching an invisible tennis match. Your body, meanwhile, is almost entirely paralyzed. You're locked in place while your brain throws a full-scale, high-definition dream party. REM sleep isn't the only stage of sleep, but it's the one that hogs the spotlight when it comes to dreaming. You cycle through several sleep stages every night: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM, with each full cycle lasting about 90 minutes. And REM, it gets longer and wilder the more you sleep. Early in the night, it's short. By morning, your brain is basically hosting a dream marathon. Here's a mainstream historical fact. Scientists only discovered REM sleep in the 1950s. Before that, we had no idea your eyes did anything interesting during sleep. It was Eugene Aserinsky, a graduate student with a curious mind, who noticed the rapid eye movements in sleeping children and thought, weird. His advisor, Nathaniel Clayton, helped confirm it, and boom, sleep science changed forever. Fast forward to today, and REM sleep is considered crucial, not just for dreaming, but for emotional processing, memory consolidation, and creativity. Your brain during REM is lit up. In fact, some regions are more active than when you're awake. Imagine your brain shouting, "Party time," while your body stays frozen to keep you from acting out your dreams. Let's talk about that body freeze for a second. It's called REM atonia, and it's your brain's safety feature. During REM, motor neurons are suppressed, meaning you can't move most voluntary muscles. This is good news. You won't leap out of bed trying to outrun a dream dragon. But when this system glitches, well, that's how we get sleep paralysis. We'll get there in a few sections. Brace yourself. Now here's something quirky. Dolphins and whales don't have full REM sleep. Instead, they let half their brain sleep at a time, literally. It's called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. One side snoozes while the other stays alert, so they can keep swimming and avoid predators. Scientists still argue whether these creatures dream, or if their dreams are just oceanic blips compared to our human dreamscapes. Back to you. During REM, your brain behaves like a DJ, mixing together random clips from your memory, emotional highlights from the day, and maybe a touch of absurdity for flair. That's why you dream of your third-grade math teacher riding a giant hamster through the mall. It makes zero sense, and yet it feels meaningful. Your brain's visual cortex, which processes images while you're awake, lights up during REM. The limbic system, which handles emotions, also fully activated. But your prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational part of your brain, that one takes a nap, which explains why you never question why your apartment is now a spaceship. And yes, this is why dream logic is so flexible. You accept the bizarre without blinking. The sky's made of jelly? Fine. You have to save the world by collecting rubber ducks? Sure. Your dream self shrugs and gets on with it. Now here's an open debate. Some scientists argue that REM dreams are essential for emotional regulation, that your brain replays emotional events to help you process them safely. Others suggest dreams might be your brain's way of stress testing future scenarios. Still others think dreams are a byproduct, entertaining but ultimately pointless. So, dream therapy or dream static, jury, still out. Let's pivot to something weirder, REM rebound. If you're sleep deprived, your brain gets a bit cranky. The next time you sleep, it'll push you into REM faster and for longer. It's like your brain saying, okay, enough nonsense. We need dream time now. This rebound effect highlights just how fiercely your brain protects REM sleep. Also fun, newborns spend half their sleep time in REM. That's a lot of dreaming for tiny brains. Some researchers think this REM-heavy phase helps wire up the developing brain, like software updates running in the background. Adults, in contrast, spend about 20–25% of sleep in REM, and that's if you're getting enough sleep, which, let's be honest, most of us are. Here's a light joke while you drift. If REM is your brain's nightly soap opera, your real life is just the commercial break. So as you lie there tucked under your blanket, you enter another REM cycle. Your eyes dart under closed lids. Your breathing quickens slightly. Your heart beats a little faster. And inside your skull, worlds are unfolding. Dreams are forming. You're not just resting, you're living entire lifetimes in the span of minutes. You probably won't remember most of them. That's okay. Your brain knows what it's doing, maybe, or it's just winging it with a flair for the dramatic. Either way, you're in the REM zone now. Enjoy the ride. Your dream dissolves into mist and suddenly you're somewhere else. A forest, a palace, a traffic jam on the moon. It doesn't matter, the scene shifts again. As your REM cycle spins on, let's zoom out and take a little historical detour. Because dreaming might feel like a deeply personal, even private experience, but humans have been trying to make sense of it for thousands of years, usually with more confidence than evidence. You might be surprised to know that dream interpretation is one of the oldest recorded sciences. In ancient Mesopotamia, around 3000 BCE, people believed dreams were direct messages from the gods. Kings and generals consulted dream interpreters before making decisions, because obviously, if you dreamed about a lion eating your neighbor's goat, that had strategic implications. There were even clay tablets detailing dream symbols, a sort of Mesopotamian version of a dream dictionary. Spoiler, most symbols meant trouble. In Egypt, dreaming was serious business. Dream temples existed where people could go to incubate dreams, meaning they'd sleep there hopping to receive divine visions. High-ranking priests, trained in the art of dream interpretation, would then analyze your slumber story and offer guidance. You could think of it as spiritual therapy, just with more incense and possibly a snake or two. Fast forward to ancient Greece and Rome, and you get a more philosophical twist. The Greeks had gods specifically for dreams, Morpheus. For one, yes, that's where the Matrix got the name. Philosophers like Aristotle puzzled over dreams, debating whether they came from divine forces or bodily sensations. Aristotle leaned toward the latter, suggesting that dreams might reflect internal states like digestion or illness. You have to admire a guy who looked at a flying elephant dream and thought, ah yes, must have been the cheese. Now here's a quirky fact. Some Roman emperors recorded their dreams obsessively. Emperor Augustus supposedly dreamed of being the moon, and then proceeded to rule half the known world, which may or may not be related. Historians still argue whether such dreams genuinely influenced political actions or were simply used to justify decisions after they were made. Basically, if you did something controversial, you could just say, "Hey, the gods told me in a dream." Of course, we can't skip over the Dream King himself. Sigmund Freud. In 1899, Freud published The Interpretation of Dreams, and everything got a little weird. Freud believed that dreams were the royal road to the unconscious, revealing hidden desires and unresolved conflicts, most of them, well, let's just say, not PG. He introduced the idea of manifest content, what you dream about, versus latent content, what it really means, according to him. Dream about climbing stairs. Freud might say that's not just exercise. Freud's theories were, and still are, controversial. Some scientists today roll their eyes at the idea that every dream is a coded message from your unconscious mind. Others argue that while Freud may have overcomplicated things and added way too many layers of innuendo, he was right to suggest that dreams reflect our inner emotional life. Then came Carl Jung, Freud's frenemy, who offered a different spin. Jung thought dreams weren't just about personal desires but tapped into something deeper, a collective unconscious filled with archetypes and universal symbols. Think shadowy figures, wise elders, and your classic hero's journey. Jung was less obsessed with repressed urges and more focused on spiritual and psychological growth. Dream about a giant snake. Jung might say that's a symbol of transformation, not just leftover pizza. In the modern era, dreams have migrated from couches to brain scanners. Thanks to technologies like EEG and fMRI, scientists can now observe what happens in your brain while you dream. They've identified regions that light up during different dream stages and can sometimes even guess what kind of imagery you're experiencing. For example, if your visual cortex is especially active, chances are you're seeing vivid images, even if you don't remember them upon waking. And here, where it gets wild. In a 2013 study, researchers used fMRI data to predict certain types of dream content, like whether someone dreamed about people or places, based on brain activity patterns. So yes, your brain is basically broadcasting a weird, scrambled TV signal while you sleep. We're just not great at tuning it in, yet. Of course, the more science learns about dreams, the more we realize how much we don't know. Historians still argue whether ancient dream rituals were primitive superstition or early forms of mental health care. Likewise, neuroscientists debate whether dreams serve a biological function or are just mental noise produced by a sleeping brain trying to stay busy. Here's a fringe tidbit to ponder as you float through your dream. In some indigenous cultures, dreams are treated as real experiences, not just brain static. For example, the Australian Aboriginal concept of the dream time links dreams to ancestral creation stories and ongoing spiritual journeys. In these traditions, dreams aren't just reflections, they're a part of reality itself. Even today, people keep dream journals, share dream art, and visit therapists who specialize in dream work. The idea that dreams mean something, whether psychologically, spiritually, or even prophetically, has never gone away. So, as you wander through your own shifting dreamscape, remember that you're part of a long human tradition. From ancient temples to modern labs, we've always been captivated by the strange, flickering world that opens up each night when our eyes close. You might not know why you're dancing with a penguin on a subway, but someone somewhere has tried to explain it and probably wrote a book about it. You drift weightlessly now, tumbling through shadows and flickers of half-formed thoughts when suddenly, boom, a vivid scene locks into place. Maybe you're riding a bicycle through your childhood home. Maybe your phone is melting. Maybe you're just endlessly falling through space, serenaded by a choir of frogs. All of this conjured by your brain, and trust me, it's working overtime. While your body snoozes peacefully, your brain, it's a frenzy of electrical storms and chemical cocktails. Sleep, especially the dream-rich kind, is not quiet. Your neurons are chattering away, sending pulses of energy across intricate pathways. So what exactly is going on up there? Let's start with the basics. During sleep, especially in REM, your brain becomes a biochemical playground. Neurotransmitters, the brain's chemical messengers, rise and fall in a delicate dance. Some of the biggest players in this nightly show include acetylcholine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Acetylcholine ramps up during REM sleep, helping spark vivid imagery and sensory experiences in dreams. Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, also joins the party, possibly explaining why some dreams feel euphoric, while others send you chasing endless rewards like coins in a video game. On the flip side, serotonin and norepinephrine, typically linked to wakeful focus and alertness, dial way down. The result? You're emotionally engaged but not exactly logical. Now for some electrical buzz. Your brain operates on various frequencies known as brain waves. During deep non-REM sleep, slow delta waves dominate. Imagine long, lazy ripples. But during REM, faster beta and theta waves light up, resembling wakeful brain activity. That's why REM sleep is sometimes called paradoxical sleep. Your brain looks awake, but your body is a glorified paperweight. Here's a historical gem for your pillow thoughts. The first person to measure these brain waves was Hans Berger in the 1920s. He developed the EEG electroencephalogram, which allowed scientists to track brain activity during sleep. Berger was also a bit of a mystic. He hoped EEGs could prove telepathy. Spoiler, they didn't. But they did show that your brain isn't just off during sleep. Far from it. Let's zoom in. Deep in your brain, the limbic system is lighting up. This area, especially the amygdala, is responsible for emotions, fear, and memory. During dreams, the amygdala is basically on fire, which might explain why so many dreams feel emotionally intense. That nightmare about missing your flight. Thank your amygdala for that gripping sense of doom. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the rational part that handles decision-making and self-control, is taking a back seat. Basically, your brain's editor is out to lunch, which is why your dream logic often feels like it was written by a sleep-deprived screenwriter. Why yes, of course the stairs turn into snakes, and yes, naturally, I must climb them to find my lost keys to the moon car. Here, where it gets weirder, your brain might be processing real sensations while you dream. Ever slept in a hot room and dreamed of being trapped in a desert? Or heard a noise and incorporated it into the dream narrative? Your senses don't completely shut off. The sleeping brain is like a director improvising with whatever props are lying around. Now, one theory suggests that during dreams, your brain is practicing for real life. It replays fragments of your day, mixes them with past experiences, and simulates potential future scenarios. Think of it as a mental rehearsal. Evolutionary psychologists call this threat simulation theory. Your dreams let you face dangers safely, like a flight simulator for your survival instincts. Historians still argue whether this rehearsal idea explains all dreams, or just the scary ones. Some dreams, like that one where you're endlessly folding laundry while floating through space, don't seem to have much survival value, unless you count conquering interstellar chores. Let's pause for a quirky tidbit. Ever heard of the Tetris effect? If you play a game or perform a repetitive task long enough, you might start dreaming about it. Tetris players often see falling blocks in their dreams. Taxi drivers dream of city maps. One researcher who studied mountain climbers found they frequently dreamed of climbing, even years later. Your brain seems to love replaying recent, intense experiences, whether they're thrilling, stressful, or just oddly repetitive. And what about smell? Most dreams don't feature strong odors, but when they do, the scents tend to be linked to strong memories. Some scientists are exploring whether scent can influence dreams. Studies have exposed sleeping people to pleasant or unpleasant smells, then asked about their dreams. The results suggest that, yes, your brain might incorporate scent into your dreams in surprising ways. Future goal: dream of fresh cookies by sleeping next to a bakery. Worth a try. Dreams may also be tied to cleaning, not metaphorically, literally. Recent research into the brain's glymphatic system shows that cerebrospinal fluid washes through the brain during sleep, clearing out waste products. Some scientists speculate that dreaming might be part of this neural housekeeping, helping sort out which memories to keep and which to toss. It's like Marie Kondo for your synapses. Still, others argue dreams are just random neural noise, like static from a TV not tuned to any channel. The activation synthesis theory proposes that your brainstem fires randomly during REM, and the cortex tries to make sense of it by creating a story. So that dream where you're riding a unicycle on Jupiter, maybe your brain just stitched that together from leftover fragments because, well, why not? Of course, these theories aren't mutually exclusive. Dreams might serve multiple functions: emotional regulation, memory processing, creative inspiration, and still be partly random. Your brain, complex as it is, doesn't seem interested in giving you one neat answer. So tonight, as your neurons flash and your chemical balance shifts like a stormy sea, remember, your brain is doing things, strange, mysterious, and possibly important things. Whether it's organizing memories or just putting on a circus for your unconscious entertainment, it's hard at work, even if you're just chasing butterflies made of cheese. You drift now through a soft fog of half-memories, wandering a dreamscape that feels familiar but wrong. There's your old house, except it's underwater. Your childhood pet is there, but it's speaking Spanish. You reach for something, a key, a door, a face, and just as your fingers graze it, it's gone. You wake with a jolt and think, what did that mean? Your brain, been busy again, but this time it feels like it was trying to tell you something. Maybe your dream was just nonsense, or maybe, just maybe, it had something to do with memory. Because, believe it or not, many scientists think your dreams are basically the world's weirdest file sorting system. Your brain, overwhelmed by the day's data dump, uses dreams to process, store, and sometimes delete information. Kind of like running antivirus software, but with more flying pigs. Let's start with a basic question. How do memories even work in sleep? During the day, your brain is constantly forming short-term memories. Some are emotional, some are sensory, and some are pure trivia, like where you parked or how many times your boss said pivot in that meeting. At night, especially during sleep, the brain decides what to keep and what to toss. Non-REM sleep seems to help with factual memories, names, dates, grocery lists. But REM sleep, that's where emotional and procedural memories, like riding a bike or playing piano, get solidified. And many researchers believe that dreaming is part of that memory consolidation process. Here's a mainstream historical fact to help you feel fancy. In the 1970s, sleep researchers discovered that depriving people of REM sleep made it harder for them to recall complex tasks learned the day before. Over time, more studies confirmed that REM isn't just for colorful hallucinations. It's a critical tool for cementing experience into memory. Your brain is, in effect, playing back the highlight reel of your day and deciding where to file it. Here, where it gets fun. In animal studies, scientists have monitored sleeping rats and discovered that their brains replay the same patterns of neural activity they experienced while navigating mazes. It's like their tiny brains are dreaming about running the maze again, and maybe even running it better. You probably do this too. Ever dream about work, school, that cringy thing you said 5 years ago that still haunts you? Your brain might be revisiting those events, trying to smooth over emotional rough edges or learn from your mistakes, even if your dream version includes a dragon or a disco ball. But wait, what about all the weird dreams? The ones that seem to have nothing to do with your day. This is where another theory kicks in: memory integration. Instead of just reviewing recent events, your brain might be cross-referencing old memories with new ones. It's making connections, looking for patterns, even solving problems. That's why you sometimes wake up with new ideas or sudden clarity. Historians still argue whether famous dream discoveries really happened, but the lore is strong. Dmitri Mendeleev, for example, claimed the idea for the periodic table came to him in a dream. He supposedly saw the elements fall into place like puzzle pieces. Was it a real dream epiphany, or a well-timed nap after months of hard thinking? No one knows, but the story lives on. Here's a quirky tidbit for your next sleepover chat. There's a rare condition called hyperthymesia, where people can remember every day of their lives in vivid detail. Some individuals with this ability also report exceptionally vivid dreams, almost like their brains don't know when to stop recording. Scientists still don't fully understand the link between dreaming and memory in these cases, but it raises the question: do people who remember more in waking life also dream differently? Now let's flip the coin. What happens when dreams interfere with memory? Ever have a dream so intense that you wake up confused about what's real? This is called dream-reality confusion, and while it's usually harmless, it can be disorienting. Your brain may briefly struggle to separate dream memories from waking ones, especially if you're groggy or sleep-deprived. Dreams can also overwrite memories. Have a dream argument with a friend. You might feel real tension afterward, even if nothing happened in real life. The emotional residue of dreams is sticky. Your brain treats dream experiences as real enough to matter. Some therapists even encourage patients to explore recurring dream conflicts as if they were real-life issues, because emotionally, they are. And let's not forget false memories. Sometimes, dreams slip into your waking memory bank, disguised as actual events. You might remember a conversation that never happened or think you've been somewhere you've only visited in a dream. This blurring of lines is part of what makes dreaming so fascinating, and sometimes a little unnerving. So what does all this mean for you, the nightly dreamer? Well, tonight, as you sleep, your brain might be rewatching your Tuesday lunch break, splicing it together with your 5th birthday party, and adding a soundtrack of whale noises for flair. And somehow, this helps you wake up feeling slightly more prepared to handle tomorrow. Your dreams might not make sense, but your brain is doing what it does best, creating order from chaos and occasionally tossing in a dancing squirrel just for fun. You're running, not from anything, not toward anything, just running. The ground beneath you shifts, gravel, grass, clouds, you don't question it. You only know that your heart is pounding even though you're asleep, and something in your chest says, "This matters." Then you wake up, breathing hard, blinking at the ceiling, wondering, why was that dream so terrifying and so real? Tonight we're slipping into the darker corridors of dreaming. Welcome to the realm of nightmares, your evolutionary escape room. See, it turns out your most bone-rattling dreams might actually be some of the most useful. It's a concept that sounds strange on the surface, like saying stress is good for you. But bear with your sleepy science narrator here. There's a growing body of evidence that suggests nightmares, especially those filled with fear, danger, and helplessness, may have helped your ancestors survive. Let's rewind to the Pleistocene. You're a prehistoric human trying to stay alive, sleeping in a cave full of snoring relatives and insects the size of house cats. Every night, you're vulnerable to predators. So what if your brain had a way to rehearse for danger, to simulate threats and practice your response without actually dying? Enter threat simulation theory. Proposed by cognitive scientists, this theory suggests that nightmares are your brain's version of survival drills. When you dream about being chased, hunted, lost, or attacked, your mind is simulating danger in a safe environment. It's like mental CrossFit for staying alive. Historians still argue whether these simulations ever had a real evolutionary advantage, or whether they're simply a psychological byproduct of being anxious, intelligent creatures. But if dreaming of falling off cliffs made your ancestors more cautious around heights, that's a pretty solid feedback loop. And here's the kicker. Studies show that people who have more rehearsal dreams tend to respond more calmly to actual stressors. Your brain might be running fear drills at night so that when real fear shows up during the day, you don't completely fall apart. Let's get nerdy for a second. The amygdala, the part of your brain that processes fear, is especially active during REM sleep. Combine that with a suppressed prefrontal cortex, your logical filter, and you get emotional dreams that lack critical analysis. Translation: you believe every terrifying second while it's happening, and your brain eats that emotional experience like popcorn. This might explain why nightmares feel so much more real than other dreams. The emotional intensity, the sense of doom, the racing heart, they're all neurologically real. But the events themselves, constructed, shuffled, and projected like a low-budget horror film by your unconscious mind. Here's a quirky historical footnote. Abraham Lincoln famously dreamed of his own death just days before his assassination. In the dream, he wandered the White House, heard sobbing, and found a funeral in the East Room. When he asked who had died, someone replied, "The president." Was it prophecy? Paranoia? Historians still argue whether Lincoln's dream was genuine or embellished in retrospect, but it's become a staple in the conversation about premonitory dreams. Speaking of which, humans have long believed that dreams, especially nightmares, carry meaning or warnings. In many cultures, nightmares are considered omens. In medieval Europe, people believed nightmares were caused by demons, like the infamous incubus, sitting on your chest while you slept. The word nightmare itself comes from mare, an Old English term for a malevolent spirit, not exactly something you want sharing your blanket. Modern psychology has a less supernatural take. Nightmares can be triggered by stress, trauma, illness, medication, or even a spicy dinner. Yes, there is actually some evidence that certain foods, like cheese or chocolate, can influence the vividness or intensity of your dreams. So maybe don't down a block of cheddar before bed unless you want to face a mozzarella monster in your sleep. Let's talk about recurring nightmares. You know the ones: showing up late to class, losing teeth, being chased but unable to run. These themes pop up across cultures and age groups. Psychologists believe they reflect common anxieties: lack of control, fear of failure, vulnerability. And the fact that they repeat means your brain hasn't resolved the issue yet. It's like emotional spam, keeps showing up until you finally click unsubscribe. And then there's PTSD-related nightmares, which are a category all their own. People who have experienced trauma often relive those moments in their dreams. The brain seems to be trying, and failing, to process the trauma safely. Therapy approaches like image rehearsal therapy have been developed specifically to help people re-script these nightmares, giving the dreamer more control and reducing the emotional toll. Here, something you might not expect. Not all scary dreams are bad. Some people report feeling empowered by their nightmares. They wake up feeling like they've faced something and survived it. In some cases, nightmares even evolve into lucid dreams, where the dreamer realizes they're dreaming and fights back. Ever turned to face the monster and realized it couldn't hurt you? That's your subconscious throwing hands. Let's not forget the social side of fear dreams. Storytellers, artists, and filmmakers have mined nightmares for centuries. Mary Shelley claimed Frankenstein came to her in a dream. Salvador Dali's surreal art, inspired by dream logic. Nightmares may terrify you at 2 a.m., but by morning they can fuel creativity. Terrifying and productive. Thanks, brain. So next time you jolt awake from a terrifying dream, chased, trapped, or falling, remember, your brain isn't punishing you. It might be teaching you, rehearsing, processing, or just entertaining itself with a late-night thriller. After all, nothing says personal growth like fleeing from a giant tarantula with your third-grade teacher's face. You float now, not running, not falling, just aware. The dream feels different this time, softer around the edges but sharper in the center. You look down at your hands. You say out loud, "This is a dream," and for the first time tonight something clicks. You know, and you're still dreaming. Welcome to lucid dreaming, the rare, slippery state where you're both asleep and aware, conscious inside the unconscious. You're no longer just a passive passenger on your brain's wild ride. You're at the wheel now, or at least that's the idea. Lucid dreams are a curious blend of reality and fantasy. You realize the impossible is happening, and that realization doesn't wake you up. Instead, it empowers you. You can change the setting, fly, talk to dream characters, or just sit and watch it unfold, knowing that nothing can hurt you. Lucid dreaming isn't a new idea. Tibetan Buddhist monks have practiced a form of dream control for centuries through a discipline known as dream yoga. The goal wasn't just entertainment, it was spiritual insight. By becoming aware in dreams, monks aimed to better understand the illusion of reality itself. Pretty deep stuff for people who didn't even have smartphones to distract them. The modern term, lucid dreaming, was coined in 1913 by Dutch psychiatrist Frederik van Eden. He kept detailed dream journals and categorized different types of dreams, but lucid ones fascinated him most, those where he could think clearly and make decisions while asleep. Historians still argue whether his self-reports were scientifically rigorous or just poetic self-reflection, but they lit a spark that still burns today. Let's get into the science. Lucid dreaming typically occurs during REM sleep, the same phase we've been swimming through for a few sections now. What's wild is that during lucidity, the prefrontal cortex, that logical, rational part of your brain that's usually offline during dreams, partially reactivates. In other words, your brain regains self-awareness without fully waking up. That flicker of critical thinking allows you to recognize the dream state. You see the purple giraffe in the kitchen and think, wait, that's not right. And instead of waking up or passively accepting it, you pivot into lucidity. How common is this? Studies estimate that about 55% of people have had at least one lucid dream in their lives, but only around 20% experience them regularly. They're more likely to occur when you're younger, particularly during adolescence and early adulthood, and become rarer as you age, probably because adult dreams are just emails and forgotten laundry piles. Now for a quirky fact. You can train yourself to have lucid dreams. There are entire communities dedicated to this, people who set dream intentions, perform reality checks, keep dream journals, and use techniques like mild, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams or wild, wake-induced lucid dreaming. It sounds like a magical spellbook, but it's real psychology. A reality check is exactly what it sounds like. During the day, you build the habit of questioning your surroundings. Am I dreaming? You try turning light switches on and off. You look at text, then look away and check if it's changed. You count your fingers, the goal, get so used to checking that you eventually do it in a dream. And in the dream, the rules break. The switch doesn't work. The text scrambles. Your hand has 12 fingers. Bingo, lucidity achieved. Now let's talk about dream control. Lucid dreaming isn't always like being a god in your own mental video game. Sometimes you're lucid, but the dream still unfolds on its own. Other times you can fly, summon things, or change the environment just by willing it. And sometimes, the moment you try to take over, you wake up. Classic. Still, many lucid dreamers use that precious window of awareness to explore. Want to visit another planet? Done. Ask a dream character a burning question. Go for it. Confront a nightmare figure and watch it dissolve into mist. Extremely satisfying. Here, where it gets even more exciting and slightly controversial, some researchers are exploring the potential benefits of lucid dreaming for real-life skills. In one study, athletes who practiced movements inside lucid dreams showed performance improvements when awake. The idea is that since the brain uses similar neural pathways in dreams as it does in waking imagination, you can actually train during sleep. Historians still argue whether this dream practice has measurable effects over time or if it's just fancy visualization with extra sparkles. But the implications are cool. Sleep as a training ground. Count us in. Therapists have also started using lucid dreaming in treatment. People with recurring nightmares, particularly those with PTSD, can benefit from learning to become lucid in the dream and taking control. Instead of being chased endlessly, they might choose to stop running, or turn and ask the monster why it's there. The result? Empowerment, healing, less dread before bedtime. Still, lucid dreaming comes with its own brand of weird. Some lucid dreamers report getting stuck, feeling like they're dreaming for hours or waking into another dream. It can get trippy. Others say they've had false awakenings, where they wake up, start their day, and only later realize they're still dreaming. Hello, dreamception. And here's a fringe tidbit. There are entire forums online where lucid dreamers try to meet up inside dreams. They set a location and time, like a bar in a shared dream city, and compare notes the next day. There's no solid evidence that anyone has ever actually met another person in a lucid dream, but the idea, wonderfully human. So tonight, as your dreams unfold, know this. You might not have to be a passive observer. You can train, you can notice, and maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you're dreaming. And when that happens, go ahead, fly. You awaken in your dream to find your teeth falling out. Again. Or maybe you're naked in public trying to take a math test in a language you don't speak while being chased by a duck the size of a sedan. No one reacts like this is strange, least of all you, because in dream logic it all fits, somehow. And yet when you wake up, you're left wondering, what did that mean? Welcome to the chaotic carnival of dream symbols. The cryptic, recurring, occasionally ridiculous images your brain insists on serving during its nightly film festival. Flying, falling, being chased, losing teeth, swimming through syrup. You've seen them. Maybe not all in one night, but enough times to start asking, is my subconscious trying to tell me something? Let's start with the poster boy of dream interpretation, Sigmund Freud. The man who believed that absolutely everything you dream about is deeply symbolic and almost certainly about your parents. In The Interpretation of Dreams, 1899, Freud laid out his theory that dreams contain both manifest content, the actual imagery, and latent content, the hidden, repressed meaning underneath. According to Freud, your dreams are basically coded love letters from your unconscious mind. Weird, moody love letters. Freud saw everything as metaphor, a dream about climbing stairs, likely a stand-in for, let's say, intimate urges, a long tunnel, let's not. He famously declared that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, and psychoanalysts spent decades and boatloads of patient money decoding symbolic meanings. But then came Carl Jung, with a less steamy and slightly more mystical take. Jung believed that dreams draw not only from personal memory but from the collective unconscious, a shared human archive of archetypes and symbols. Think wise old men, shadowy figures, heroic journeys. Your dream about a lion in your backyard. That's not just about forgetting to take out the trash. It might be a symbol of courage you're trying to embrace. Jung also introduced the idea of individuation, the process of integrating all aspects of the self, including those that appear in dreams as monsters, exes, or that talking goat who judges you. He encouraged dreamers to reflect, to journal, to dialogue with their dreams. Freud gave you a diagnosis. Jung gave you a quest. Historians still argue whether dream symbolism actually unlocks hidden truths, or if it's just an elaborate guessing game fueled by introspection and too much herbal tea. The truth may lie somewhere in the middle. While some symbols do seem to carry broad meanings, others are highly personal. A snake might mean transformation to one person, fear to another, and a fond childhood pet to a third. Yes, some people keep snakes. No judgment. Here's a quirky historical tidbit. Ancient dream manuals were a thing. In the 2nd century CE, a Greek named Artemidorus wrote the Wonera Critica, a massive 5-volume book on interpreting dreams. Want to know what it meant to dream about lettuce or donkeys? Artemidorus had thoughts. He believed symbols varied by context, by the dreamer's life, and even by social status. His work became the ancient world's dream Google. Dreamed of bees? Let's check the scrolls. Jump to today, and dream dictionaries are still lining bookstore shelves and cluttering your favorite internet rabbit holes. You can still look up your dreams online and find that dreaming of your teeth falling out is about anxiety, or that water represents your emotional state. But these books rarely agree, and even modern psychologists caution against over-relying on generic meanings. Because here's the kicker, your brain is writing dreams in your personal language, not anyone else. That recurring dream about an empty train station, only you know what trains mean to you. A dentist's dream about teeth might be just another Tuesday, while for someone else it's pure panic. Dream symbols are shaped by culture too. In Western societies, flying often represents freedom or success, but in some indigenous traditions, flying dreams are seen as spirit journeys. In Chinese dream lore, dreaming of fish often signifies wealth or fertility. So while your dream content may feel universal, its meaning, deeply local. Now let's talk about some of the classics. Falling, one of the most common dreams, often linked to feeling out of control, insecure, or unsupported. Or maybe you just shouldn't have had that second glass of chamomile. Teeth falling out, surprisingly common across cultures. Psychologists associate it with anxiety about appearance, loss of control, or fear of aging. Freud, of course, had more colorful theories. Let's not invite those back. Being chased, classic fear dream, usually tied to stress, unresolved conflict, or avoidance. The identity of the chaser often says more about the issue: monster, boss, giant serial mascot. Being naked in public, hello, vulnerability. This dream tends to pop up when you're feeling exposed, judged, or anxious about being seen. Flying, often tied to ambition, freedom, or power. Also popular among lucid dreamers. If you're flying on purpose, it's usually positive. If you're flying and crashing, maybe not so much. Of course, the real gold is in the dream mashups. You're late for school, naked, flying, and also trying to fight a squid with your high school ex's face. What's that about? Probably a complex cocktail of stress, unresolved emotions, and leftover shrimp tacos. The best way to unpack these: a dream journal. Yeah, I know, sounds like something you abandoned in 8th grade next to your poetry phase. But keeping a journal right after waking helps capture the slippery details before they vanish. And over time, you might start to see patterns, symbols that reappear, emotions that surface. Dreams aren't random, they're just speaking in a very weird dialect. So tonight, when your dreams decide to get symbolic, when a door won't open or a wolf whispers your childhood nickname, pause before brushing it off. Maybe it's your brain cleaning house. Maybe it's your subconscious sending an emoji-stuffed memo. Or maybe, just maybe, it's nonsense. But beautiful, meaningful nonsense, the best kind. The dream ends abruptly. You're awake, but your body is. Your eyes dart wildly beneath their lids, your breath quickens, your heart pounds, and you can't move. You're trapped in your own body, half asleep, half awake. Something is sitting on your chest or standing in the corner, watching, waiting. You try to scream, but nothing comes out. Welcome to the eerie, claustrophobic world of sleep paralysis, where your mind wakes before your body does, and things get very, very weird. Sleep paralysis is exactly what it sounds like: a temporary inability to move or speak while falling asleep or waking up. It's not dangerous. It doesn't last long. But while it's happening, it's one of the most terrifying experiences a person can have, and it's way more common than you might think. Estimates suggest that around 8% of the general population will experience sleep paralysis at least once in their lives. Among people with disrupted sleep patterns, students, shift workers, trauma survivors, it's significantly higher. You're not alone, even if it feels like it in that frozen, shadow-filled moment. Let's get science-y for a second. Remember REM atonia, that helpful paralysis your brain enforces during dreaming so you don't act out your wild REM adventures. Well, sleep paralysis happens when that mechanism doesn't shut off fast enough. Your mind wakes up before your muscles do. You become aware, but you're still paralyzed, stuck in a dreamlike state with all the sensory weirdness of REM, but no control. Add in a hyperactive amygdala, your brain's fear factory, and what do you get? Hallucinations. Not always, but often. Visual, auditory, and tactile. You might see a shadow figure looming at the foot of the bed, feel pressure on your chest, hear breathing, footsteps, or even whispering. Your brain, in panic mode, tries to fill in the gaps. Historians still argue whether sleep paralysis influenced ancient folklore, or whether folklore influenced how we experience sleep paralysis. Probably both. Cultures across the world have names for this condition. In Japan, it's called kanashibari, to be bound. In Newfoundland, it's known as the old hag sitting on your chest. In parts of Nigeria, it's thought to be caused by witchcraft. Across cultures and eras, people have described nearly identical episodes, waking in the night, unable to move and feeling a malevolent presence. Which leads to a fun, spooky detail. Sleep paralysis is often cited in alien abduction reports. Many so-called abductees describe waking up unable to move, seeing glowing lights or shadowy figures, hearing humming sounds, and feeling floated or touched. Sound familiar? Some researchers argue that sleep paralysis explains a huge portion of these stories, especially when they happen in the fragile space between dreaming and waking. Here's a quirky tidbit. 19th century painters were obsessed with sleep paralysis. Look up Henry Fuseli's painting The Nightmare. A pale, helpless figure lies on a bed while a squat demon perches on her chest and a ghostly horse peeks in from behind the curtains. It's pure sleep paralysis drama, before EEG machines, before we knew what REM even was. Just fear, frozen in oil. So what triggers this creepy glitch? The usual suspects: stress, irregular sleep schedules, sleeping on your back, yes, really, certain medications, and even jet lag. Anything that messes with your REM cycle can increase the odds of your mind waking before your body does. But let's be clear, while sleep paralysis feels like a supernatural attack, it's entirely explainable by neuroscience. You're not cursed. You're not being watched by demons or abducted by greys. Your brain is just having trouble syncing its wake-up routine, like a software update that froze halfway. Still, that doesn't make the experience less terrifying. Some people report managing sleep paralysis once they recognize the signs. Techniques include focusing on small muscle groups, like trying to wiggle a toe, slowing your breathing, or simply reminding yourself, "This will pass." For frequent sufferers, improving sleep hygiene, consistent bedtime, reducing stress, avoiding stimulants before bed, can help reduce episodes. Interestingly, not all sleep paralysis is terrifying. Some people, especially lucid dreamers, learn to use the state as a launchpad into full-on lucid dreaming. Since you're halfway to dreamland anyway, it's possible to tip yourself into a controlled dream state once the paralysis fades. Sounds cool in theory, still deeply unsettling in practice. Let's not forget the emotional fallout. A single episode of sleep paralysis can leave someone rattled for days. Repeated episodes, they can lead to anxiety about sleeping, which of course makes sleep worse, which increases the risk of more episodes. A cruel feedback loop. Some people even avoid naps or certain sleep positions just to keep the shadows at bay. Dream researchers are starting to take sleep paralysis more seriously, not just as a neurological curiosity, but as a window into the mechanics of consciousness. It raises huge questions. Where is the line between sleep and wakefulness? How do we process fear without movement? Why does the brain need to conjure a monster when we can't scream? And while most people experience sleep paralysis as a one-off, a small percentage deal with it chronically. For them, it's not a dream. It's a regular visitor. Therapies, including cognitive behavioral approaches and certain medications, can help, but awareness is the first step. So tonight, as you drift into REM again, rest a little easier knowing that if you ever find yourself stuck between sleep and wakefulness, you're not broken. You're not haunted. You're just in a deeply weird moment where biology and fear intersect, and your brain, being the dramatist that it is, decided to throw in a shadow figure for flair. And hey, if you ever find yourself locked in place with a demon sitting on your chest, maybe ask if they've seen The Nightmare. They might appreciate the reference. The jungle rustles. Leaves tremble beneath your paws, or are they feet? You're low to the ground, alert, crouching. A noise to your left. Instinct kicks in. You leap and the dream twists. You're no longer hunting. You're twitching in your sleep, your legs kicking gently beneath the blanket. You're not alone in your dreaming tonight. Because it's not just humans who dream. The animal kingdom sleeps, and in many cases it dreams right alongside us. Cats, dogs, birds, Even rats, creatures great and small, share the strange experience of REM sleep. And if REM sleep means dreaming, and that's a strong possibility, then you, your dog, and that pigeon outside your window may all be dreaming together under the same sky. Let's start with our fuzzy companions. You've seen it. Your dog asleep on the rug, paws twitching, little yips escaping into the air. Or your cat snoozing in a sunbeam, suddenly growling softly, tail flicking. Adorable? Absolutely. Random muscle activity? Not so much. Scientists have long suspected that animals dream, especially mammals. In 2001, researchers at MIT conducted a now-famous study with rats. The rats were trained to run mazes during the day. That night, as the rats slept, scientists recorded their brain activity and found that the same neurons fired in the same sequence during sleep. It was as if the rats were running the maze all over again, dreaming of their little rat journeys, possibly even improving their performance. The implications: dreams may not be exclusive to humans. They may be essential for memory consolidation, learning, and even emotional processing across species. Birds, too, show signs of REM sleep. Zebra finches, for example, seem to rehearse their songs in their sleep. Their brain activity during rest mimics the patterns of their waking vocalizations. Think of it as the avian version of dreaming about karaoke night, except with perfect pitch and feathers. Here's a quirky fact. Platypuses, those delightfully bizarre creatures of Australian rivers, have some of the most intense REM sleep recorded. Their brains light up with electrical activity during sleep, and their eyes twitch wildly. What does a platypus dream about? Nobody knows, but it's probably very strange. Historians still argue whether dreaming is a byproduct of complex brains or a function that evolved earlier in simpler creatures. Some invertebrates, like cuttlefish, show REM-like sleep patterns, including color changes across their skin while they rest. Is that dreaming? We don't know, but it's weirdly beautiful to imagine a dreaming squid, its body shifting through colors like a living lava lamp. Elephants and dolphins. They sleep less than most animals, but they still show signs of dreaming. Dolphins engage in unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, meaning one hemisphere of the brain sleeps while the other stays alert. It's a clever evolutionary trick that lets them keep swimming and breathing without drowning. During this split brain sleep, do they dream? Possibly. If they do, it might be unlike anything we can imagine. Let's take a detour to your own household. Dog owners often report that their pets seem to dream more after active days, long walks, new smells, meeting other dogs. Cats may twitch and chirp after a long afternoon stalking dust motes and pretending not to care. It mirrors human behavior. More sensory input equals more dream intensity, even in golden doodles. But what are they dreaming about? We can only guess. The consensus is that animal dreams likely involve reliving recent experiences, running, hunting, playing, maybe even interacting with their humans. If your dog barks in his sleep after a trip to the park, it's not impossible he's chasing squirrels in his dreams, just virtual ones. Of course, animal dreams aren't always peaceful. Just like humans, they can have nightmares. In some cases, dogs with trauma histories, rescue dogs for example, show signs of restless, agitated sleep. They may whine, growl, or cry out, even while paralyzed by REM atonia. It's heartbreaking, and it raises questions about whether animals process trauma during sleep the same way we do. And yes, animals can experience sleep disorders too. In rare cases, dogs have been observed acting out their dreams, literally running while asleep, due to a failure in their REM paralysis system. This condition, called REM behavior disorder, is well documented in humans and now increasingly studied in animals. Your dog charging into a wall mid-dream, not just clumsy, possibly a clinical sleep glitch. Here, where the ethical debate begins. If animals dream, and if dreams help with memory, stress regulation, and mental health, shouldn't their dreams matter? Animal psychologists think so. Researchers argue that sleep quality in shelter animals could be just as important as nutrition or exercise. A dog that can't sleep well may struggle more with behavior, bonding, and even adoption outcomes. It's a quiet but powerful shift. We're beginning to treat animal dreams not as cute side effects but as windows into inner lives. What if animals have emotional narratives, unresolved fears, or even dreams of joy? If they do, then dreaming isn't just a human mystery, it's a shared inheritance. There's even evidence to suggest that primates dream with layers of complexity closer to ours. Chimps show REM patterns similar to humans, and some researchers suspect they may even have structured dreams, stories, fears, perhaps even interactions with remembered individuals. One can only imagine what a chimp thinks when it wakes up from a dream where a banana was just out of reach. So tonight, as you lie still, dreaming of deserts and doorways, know this: you're part of a vast and sleepy kingdom. All around you, other creatures are dreaming too. The cat on the windowsill, the mouse beneath the floorboards, the bat in the barn. Together, you're all riding the same invisible tide. Different species, same ancient rhythm, eyes closed, neurons flickering, brains conjuring other worlds. You may not share the same language, but you do share the same dreams, quiet, colorful, and just out of reach. You're walking through a dream, barefoot perhaps, or floating. A voice calls your name, but you don't recognize the language. Still, it feels familiar. You hear music but can't place the melody. There are no images, no colors, just textures, emotions, vibrations. And then you wake up wondering, what do dreams look like when you've never seen anything at all? Tonight, we open our eyes, paradoxically, on the dreaming world of the blind. One of the most common misconceptions about dreams is that they're purely visual, and for most sighted people, they are. Our brains prioritize visuals because, well, we rely heavily on sight while awake. But for those who have never had that input, for people blind from birth, dreams aren't less vivid. They're just vivid in other ways. People who are congenitally blind from birth, still dream, and often richly. Their dreams are filled with sound, touch, smell, movement, even temperature, sensory details that sighted dreamers often overlook. The emotional intensity is still there. The strange narratives are still there, but the experience is sculpted from different materials. Imagine walking through a dream built from echo, texture, and vibration. Conversations that happen without faces. Spaces mapped out by steps and air pressure. It's a world most of us never consciously enter, but for some, it's the only world they've ever known, even in dreams. Here's the science. Studies using sleep labs and EEGs show that blind individuals go through the same sleep stages as sighted people. REM sleep, check. Dream reports, absolutely. The biggest difference isn't in how much they dream, it's in the content. People who are blind from birth report dreams rich in auditory and tactile elements. Think footsteps, the feel of grass, the pitch of a voice. Here's a fascinating tidbit. Many congenitally blind people can't visualize faces in their dreams, but they still recognize individuals by their voice, scent, or even the way they walk. Their dreams may include familiar places, just not in the way we picture them. A kitchen might be recognized by the hum of the fridge, the feel of the counter's edge, or the smell of coffee. But what about people who became blind later in life? Their dreams often retain visual imagery, at least for a time. Sighted memories can stay in the dream archive for years. Gradually, though, as those memories fade, their dreams may shift to rely more heavily on their other senses. Historians still argue whether this change is inevitable or if visual dreams persist in a kind of mental snapshot gallery. And here, where it gets curious, some people who lost their sight early, but not from birth, report dreams with light. Not full images, but flashes, colors, gradients, as if the visual part of the brain still wants to participate, even with nothing to see. Scientists suspect that the visual cortex, the brain region responsible for processing sight, gets repurposed in the blind for other senses. That means when someone blind dreams of touch or sound, their visual cortex still lights up, pulling double duty in ways sighted brains don't. There's something profoundly humbling about this. The brain isn't dependent on the eyes to build a world. It just wants input, and it will take what it can get. Here's a fringe fact for your next deep sleep trivia night. People who are blind are statistically more likely to experience nightmares. One theory suggests that this is tied to increased reliance on non-visual senses, which might make dreams more emotionally intense. Imagine a dream where you can't see the danger, but you hear it creeping closer. You feel the air change. It's not less scary. In some ways, it's scarier. Still, many blind individuals report positive dreams too. Some even report lucid dreams, just like sighted folks, where they become aware and can make choices. The mechanics of awareness, control, and emotion remain universal, even when the sensory input varies. And yes, some blind people dream of flying, or swimming, or walking through impossible architecture. The surreal dream logic applies across the board. Whether the experience is mapped through sight or echo or smell, the brain still plays with reality. One well-documented case involved a man who was born blind and later learned to use echolocation, making clicking sounds with his mouth to navigate the world. In his dreams, he clicked and heard imaginary echoes. The dream environment was shaped entirely by sound bouncing off surfaces he couldn't see but could feel through audio feedback. That's real-world Batman stuff. Another unexpected detail. Braille readers have reported dreaming of reading, not visually but through tactile sensation. They feel the raised dots in dreams just as they do in waking life. Your brain truly is a master of sensory improvisation. Let's also explore the emotional language of dreams. Regardless of sensory input, emotions in dreams, fear, joy, embarrassment, longing, appear to be universal. Sighted or blind, people experience complex emotional narratives while asleep, and those emotions can linger after waking, influencing mood, memory, even decision-making. Sight is just one brush in a much bigger emotional painting. So where does this leave us, the sighted dreamer? With a new appreciation for the flexibility of the dreaming brain, a reminder that perception isn't bound to the eyes, and a quiet truth: dreams aren't about what you see, they're about what you feel, what you remember, and what you imagine. Tonight, as you drift into another REM cycle, maybe your dreams will feature more than visuals. Maybe you'll notice the smell of rain on hot pavement, the sound of a voice you haven't heard in years, or the grain of wood beneath your fingertips. And if you do, you're dreaming a little more like someone who sees with something deeper than sight. Eyes open or closed, light or dark, the dream world finds a way. You find yourself standing in a village square, drums echo in the distance. A fire crackles nearby, sending sparks up into a midnight sky. Around you, people are gathered, not just watching your dream, but interpreting it, chanting, drawing symbols in the dust. Someone turns to you and says, "What you saw means something." Because in many places, past and present, dreams aren't just weird brain movies. They're culture, belief, ritual. Tonight, you drift through the many ways cultures have shaped, honored, feared, and translated dreams. Your own dreams may feel private, personal, but the moment you start asking what they mean, you're joining a global, centuries-old conversation. Let's time travel. Ancient Egypt, dreams were sacred messages from the gods. Egyptians kept dream books that listed common dream images, like crocodiles, pyramids, floods, and explained their meanings. Pharaohs consulted dream interpreters before going to war. And yes, there were temples specifically for dream incubation, where people slept in hopes of receiving divine guidance. You didn't just have a dream, you received a message. That crocodile might have been your cousin Osiris saying, "Maybe don't build that new canal." In Babylonia, kings would send their dreams to a team of priestly analysts, basically an early form of dream support chat. The idea wasn't just to understand personal fears, but to glean insights into political or military affairs. Dream omens were considered legitimate intelligence. Today, we rely on polls and spreadsheets. Back then, snakes in dreams meant victory. Historians still argue whether early dream interpretation systems were mystical tools or just primitive psychology. Either way, they gave people a structured way to process the unknowable. Fear of the unknown. Slap a god on it. Confused about your feelings. Must be Mercury whispering to you. Skip forward to indigenous cultures across the Americas. In many traditions, dreams are part of the spirit world, places where ancestors visit, where messages are delivered, where healing begins. The Ojibwe people believe in the power of dreams to guide life paths and choices. Dream catchers, those now ubiquitous symbols, originated from the Ojibwe as tools to filter out bad dreams, letting only the good ones reach the sleeper. And they weren't decorative. They were serious spiritual tools. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples speak of the dream time, a complex cosmology in which ancestral beings created the world. This dreaming isn't about sleep per se. It's a spiritual dimension, eternal and layered into waking life. Dreams allow people to access this deeper reality, to walk in the footsteps of their ancestors. You're not just resting, you're journeying. And then there's Islamic dream culture. The Prophet Muhammad placed importance on dreams, considering them one of the 46 parts of prophecy. Islamic scholars developed elaborate dream classification systems: good dreams, bad dreams, dreams from the self, and dreams from divine sources. Some rulers in the Islamic Golden Age had court dream interpreters. You dreamt of a river turning to honey. That meant something, and your vizier would be very interested. Here's a quirky tidbit. During the Middle Ages in Europe, people believed dreams were moral battlegrounds. Dreaming of sin meant you were spiritually vulnerable, even if you didn't act on it in waking life. You could literally confess a dream. The Catholic Church debated whether dreams were whispers from demons or tests sent from God. Dreaming about kissing your neighbor, blacksmith. Better light a candle just in case. Later, during the Enlightenment, dreams took a backseat to logic. Rational thinkers dismissed dreams as nonsense, random brain garbage. But even then, artists and poets clung to them. The Romantics, in particular, saw dreams as windows into the soul. The weirder, the better. Why write about real life when you could describe a dream you had about a wolf reciting French poetry in a forest made of glass? In modern Japan, dream culture mixes ancient beliefs with pop psychology. Dreams are still sometimes read as signs, and certain dream images, like Mount Fuji, a hawk, or an eggplant, yes, eggplant, are considered especially lucky if you dream of them on New Year's night. Why eggplant? Historians still argue, but if you see one in your dream, apparently you're off to a good start. Back in the Western world, even post-Freud, the idea of dream interpretation has gone from the therapist's couch to the self-help aisle. Dream dictionaries, online quizzes, spiritual apps. Whether or not the interpretations are accurate, people still want to believe their dreams have meaning. And why wouldn't they? It's hard not to assign meaning when your brain serves you an emotional masterpiece starring your childhood pet and a talking toaster. Today, psychologists tread a careful line. They acknowledge that dreams can reflect waking life concerns, emotional stress, and unresolved conflict. But they're cautious about grand claims. Dreams can mean something, but they don't always mean what your crystal-wielding cousin says they do. Still, dream sharing remains a deeply human act. Around the world, people share dreams with loved ones, elders, healers. They ask for insight, guidance, comfort. In some communities, not sharing a powerful dream is considered disrespectful or even dangerous. Dreams are meant to be told, not hoarded. There's also a growing trend of dream groups, where people gather in real life or online to share and interpret their dreams collectively. Think book club, but weirder. Some of these groups follow Jungian principles, others lean spiritual, some are just dream geeks who enjoy decoding symbols together. And honestly, it's kind of beautiful. Because in the end, dream interpretation across cultures is less about universal answers and more about connection. To ancestors, to deities, to community, to your own inner world. It's not always about being right, it's about paying attention. So tonight when you dream, and you will, remember that you're participating in an ancient global tradition. You're dreaming like the pharaohs, like the monks, like the child sleeping beneath a dream catcher in a quiet room, and somewhere someone else is waking from a dream of their own, wondering, what does it mean? And maybe, if you're lucky, you'll dream of an eggplant. You close your eyes and drift off. As your mind begins to wander, you start to wonder, what if someone else could see this? Not just hear about it later, but actually watch it unfold. Could your dreams one day be recorded like movies, or streamed, shared, and played back like some surreal memory reel? Tonight, you're stepping into the stranger side of science, where technology tries to peek into your dreaming mind. It's not science fiction. It's already happening in small, glitchy, jaw-dropping ways. Let's begin with a simple truth. Your dreams aren't invisible, not to your brain anyway. Every sight, sound, movement, or sensation you experience in a dream creates real, measurable activity in your brain. Regions light up, patterns form, and scientists, they've started decoding those patterns. It all begins with neuroimaging, especially fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. These massive machines detect changes in blood flow, ACA, which parts of your brain are working hardest at any moment. Combine that with EEG, which tracks electrical activity, and you've got a dream data cocktail. One of the most famous breakthroughs came in 2013, when Japanese researchers at Kyoto University used fMRI to predict dream imagery. They had subjects nap inside the scanner, a truly awful place to nap, waking them repeatedly during early dream stages to ask what they were seeing. Over time, the team mapped out patterns in brain activity that matched specific dream content, like faces, cars, buildings. And then, they used that brain activity alone to guess what the person was dreaming about without asking them. Not word-for-word accuracy, of course, but spooky correlations like this pattern suggests a face or this shape means a tool. The dream decoding door had cracked open. Historians still argue whether this was true dream reading or just very clever pattern matching. After all, fMRI isn't exactly Netflix quality, more like a cave painting of your dream. But even that is stunning. For the first time, humans were turning dreams into data. Let's be honest though, we're nowhere near plugging your brain into a TV and watching your dreams like the nightly news. Dream reading is still extremely limited. It requires a ton of calibration. You have to train the machine on your brain like a neural fingerprint. Your face pattern isn't the same as someone else, and even then, it's fuzzy at best. But the field is growing. Another frontier, lucid dream communication. Yes, actual conversations between scientists and dreamers during the dream. In 2021, researchers from several countries managed to communicate in real time with lucid dreamers using eye movements. Hear how it worked. Lucid dreamers trained themselves to signal using their eyes, like moving them left-right-left to answer yes, or up-down to say no. While asleep and dreaming, they were presented with simple math problems or yes-no questions from the waking world, then answered them mid-dream using those eye signals. Quirky, right? But it worked. Dreamers got questions right while flying, shape-shifting, or battling spaghetti monsters. The dreaming brain can respond to real-world stimuli. Your mind isn't sealed off during sleep. It's just tuned to a different channel. Which brings us to another strange question. Can dreams be influenced by tech? Turns out, yes. In controlled studies, researchers have used external stimuli, sound, smell, touch, to influence dream content. One study had people listen to curated soundscapes during sleep. When gentle rain sounds were played, dream reports often included rain. When participants were gently tapped on the hand, some dreamt of shaking hands or brushing against things. Now imagine a future where apps can fine-tune your dreams, suggest scenarios, insert imagery, even help you solve problems. Want to rehearse a big speech in your sleep? There's a prototype for that. Want to incubate a dream where you fly over mountains? Some researchers are already trying to guide dreams using visual and auditory cues fed into the brain during REM. but we're still in the early days, and the science has limits. Dreams are wild, spontaneous, and deeply personal. They're shaped by emotion, memory, and unconscious associations that even you might not understand. No machine can fully predict how a dolphin might turn into your childhood piano or why your mailbox exploded into glitter. Not yet. Still, the possibilities are real. Dream tech is evolving, from BCIs, brain-computer interfaces, that detect dream states to experimental software that could one day help people with locked-in syndrome communicate through dreams. And here's a fringe tidbit to tuck under your pillow. Some fringe researchers are even exploring whether shared dreams could be possible. With tech connecting multiple brains, think synchronized neural stimulation, the idea of a multiplayer dream experience has been floated. Are we there yet? Absolutely not. Is it a bit bonkers? Sure. But hey, so are dreams. Of course, all of this raises some pretty big ethical questions. If we can record dreams, who owns them? If someone sees something in a dream, like a crime or a confession, does that mean anything in real life? Could dream content be used in therapy or court? Could someone's dreams be hacked? Could advertisers sneak into your dreams with a branded flamingo? Historians, future ones at least, will argue about this. For now, your dreams are still yours alone, but the wall between dreaming and waking, it's getting thinner, fuzzier, more pixelated. So tonight, as you lie back and slip into sleep, imagine the glow of a little fMRI screen blinking nearby. Somewhere out there, someone is trying to read what's playing inside your head. And even if they can't see it clearly yet, they know this much. It's colorful, strange, emotional, and absolutely alive. Your dreams aren't just shadows, they're signals, and we've only just begun to tune in. You drift into sleep with a full stomach, maybe a glass of red wine, maybe an herbal tea labeled something like Dreamscape Blend or Astral Snooze. You're expecting peace. Instead, your dreams get weird, vivid, chaotic, possibly starring your dentist dressed as a jellyfish. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe it's tonight's focus, the odd, enthusiastic attempts humans have made to hack their dreams through food, supplements, rituals, and yes, a few questionable substances. For as long as we've been dreaming, we've also been trying to influence what and how we dream, sometimes to gain insight, sometimes to prevent nightmares, sometimes just to spice up the show. And even now, in the age of melatonin gummies and Reddit lucid dreaming forums, the tradition is alive and well. Let's start with something you've probably heard before: cheese dreams. It's the classic sleepover myth: eat cheese before bed and prepare for wild nocturnal adventures. It sounds ridiculous, but in 2005, the British Cheese Board, yes, a real organization, actually sponsored a study on it. Volunteers ate different types of cheese before bedtime and kept dream journals. The results? People didn't have nightmares exactly, but certain cheeses correlated with certain kinds of dreams. Stilton, a funky blue cheese, seemed to inspire bizarre, surreal dreams. Cheddar prompted dreams involving celebrities. Red Leicester leaned nostalgic. Historians still argue whether the study was scientifically rigorous or just a dairy-fueled PR stunt. Either way, cheese officially entered the dream-influencing Hall of Fame. But food isn't the only suspect. Supplements designed to influence sleep and dreams have become big business. You've got your usual suspects: melatonin, which helps regulate sleep cycles; magnesium, which supports muscle relaxation and may reduce nightmare frequency; valerian root, an ancient herbal remedy thought to calm nerves and promote dream recall. Then there are the more adventurous options. Enter mugwort, an herb used in traditional medicine and often burned or brewed as tea to encourage vivid or prophetic dreams. Mugwort was used by indigenous American tribes, medieval Europeans, and modern lucid dreamers alike. It smells a bit like crushed sage and mystery, and while clinical studies are scarce, anecdotally, many swear by it. Another fringe player, galantamine, a compound extracted from certain flowers like snowdrops. It's been studied for Alzheimer's treatment, but lucid dreamers discovered it has a side effect. It boosts acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in REM sleep. Result: sharper, more intense dreams, and in some cases, spontaneous lucidity. Galantamine is sometimes taken during the wake back to bed technique. You sleep for 4 or 5 hours, wake briefly to take the supplement, then go back to sleep and hopefully slip into lucid REM. Does it work? In many self-reports, yes, but it's not for everyone. Side effects like nausea and restlessness are common. And again, we're in self-experimenter territory here, not FDA-approved dream potions. Let's not forget cultural rituals either. In various traditions, dream-enhancing plants and practices go back centuries. In Central and South America, Calea zacatichichi, aca the dream herb, has been used by Chontal shamans of Mexico to promote lucid dreaming and dream clarity. Users smoke it, brew it, or even place it under their pillows. Reactions range from meh to I visited the dream ancestors and time melted. In Africa, Silene capensis, or the African dream root, is used by the Xhosa people in shamanic practices. The root is whipped into a frothy brew believed to connect the dreamer to the spirit world. Even among Western psychonauts, it's developed a cult following for its dream-enhancing reputation. In ancient Greece, initiates at the temples of Asclepius, the god of healing, would sleep in sacred enclosures hopping to receive curative dreams. They followed strict diets and rituals beforehand, essentially dream prep boot camp. Even in modern times, people chase these dream-enhancing states in all kinds of ways. Sound machines tuned to theta waves, dream masks that flash lights during REM to cue lucidity, nootropics, meditation apps, binaural beats. The dream hacking toolbox grows every year. And let's talk about caffeine for a second. Most people avoid it near bedtime, but for some dreamers it's a tool. A small dose of caffeine before an early morning nap can increase alertness just enough to boost dream recall or even trigger lucidity. It's a delicate dance. You want just enough stimulation to keep the brain a little active, not wired and staring at the ceiling. Historians still argue whether ancient dream hacking methods, like incense burning, chants, or fasting, were psychological, spiritual, or pharmacological in effect. But the intent was the same as today's mugwort tea and galantamine capsule: steer the ship of dreams. Let's not skip the obvious: psychoactive substances. While we're not recommending any, you can't ignore their place in dream lore. Substances like ayahuasca, iboga, or psilocybin can produce dreamlike visions while awake and often influence the dreams that follow. In traditional cultures, they're used in tightly controlled ritual settings to explore the unconscious and commune with spiritual guides. In modern settings, well, let's just say the context is often less sacred and more Spotify playlist. The debate over whether these substances produce true dreams or just dreamlike hallucinations is still ongoing, but their impact on dream recall, creativity, and even personal insight is undeniable. Here's a quirky footnote: people have tried to dream about specific answers, not just experiences. A 2020 study encouraged people to incubate a dream about a creative problem before bed, like designing a new invention. Some actually woke up with useful ideas. Whether the dreams sparked brilliance or just jiggled their brains enough to see things differently, still unclear, but promising. So what does this mean for you, the dreamer? Well, if you want to tinker with your dreams, you've got options: herbal teas, supplements, journal prompts, incense, sleep masks, a wedge of Stilton. Whether these tools truly shape your dreams or simply make you more aware of them, the effect is real enough. Because the moment you treat dreaming as something influenceable, your brain listens. It pays attention. It starts leaving the door ajar. So tonight, whatever you eat or drink or think, maybe toss in one small wish before bed. Not a prayer or a command, just a whisper to your dreaming self: hey, show me something cool. You never know what might come through. You wake up groggy, foggy, and irritated. Your alarm feels like a betrayal. Coffee doesn't help. You're snapping at coworkers and forgetting what you were doing mid-sentence. Somewhere between breakfast and that awkward email reply, a question flickers through your sleepy brain. Did I dream last night? And more importantly, did I sleep enough to dream at all? Because tonight's journey slides into the slippery slope of dream deprivation, and how missing out on dreams, especially REM dreams, messes with your mind, mood, and maybe even your sanity. Let's start with the basics. Not all sleep is created equal. Your brain cycles through non-REM and REM stages roughly every 90 minutes. You typically experience more REM in the second half of the night, with the longest and most vivid dreams often arriving just before waking. But if you cut your sleep short, say, by sleeping only 4 or 5 hours, you're chopping off the deepest part of your REM experience. You may still dream, but you're skipping the big-budget, high-production REM sequences your brain saved for the final act. The result? You miss the part of sleep most associated with emotional regulation, creative insight, memory processing, and, yes, dreaming itself. Back in the 1960s, researchers began experimenting with REM sleep deprivation in volunteers. The results were subtle at first: slight irritability, trouble concentrating. But after a few nights, things got wild. Participants became anxious, confused, emotionally volatile. Some even began hallucinating, dreaming while awake. The line between waking and dreaming blurred, suggesting just how badly the brain needs its REM fix. In fact, the brain is so protective of REM sleep that it fights back when deprived. Enter the phenomenon known as REM rebound. After missing REM for even a night or two, your brain will increase REM intensity and duration the next time you sleep. You'll fall into REM faster, stay there longer, and likely have hypervivid dreams, sometimes bordering on nightmares. It's like your brain saying, "We've got a backlog to process, buckle up." Historians still argue whether REM rebound proves that dreaming has a vital biological function, or if it's just an overreaction by a cranky sleep system. But most neuroscientists agree, REM isn't optional. It's not bonus sleep. It's required maintenance. Here's a quirky tidbit: even alcohol messes with REM sleep. You may fall asleep faster with a nightcap, but alcohol suppresses REM in the first half of the night. When it wears off, your brain compensates by packing REM into the second half, often leading to intense, fragmented dreams, strange awakenings, or full-on 3 a.m. existential dread. So that dreamless, drunk sleep. Not dreamless at all, just badly scheduled. And it's not just substances. Sleep disorders like insomnia and sleep apnea also rob you of REM. People with untreated apnea often wake repeatedly, sometimes without knowing it, preventing them from completing full sleep cycles. The result? Daytime fatigue, brain fog, emotional dysregulation, and a suspicious lack of dream recall. Long-term REM deprivation has been linked to memory problems, poor decision-making, and increased risk of depression. In rats, who, as we've established, also dream, extended REM deprivation actually kills them faster than deprivation of food. The exact mechanism isn't fully understood, but the theory is chilling. The brain without dreams begins to break down. And what happens to your emotions when REM gets shortchanged? Well, without dreaming, you lose access to your brain's overnight emotional processing system. Research shows that during REM, the brain replays emotional experiences, but with the stress hormone norepinephrine turned way down. This creates a safe environment to revisit and detoxify memories without reactivating the full emotional weight. Think of it as emotional composting. Skip it, and yesterday's stress festers. That might explain why you're snappier, sadder, or more anxious after a night of poor sleep. Your brain didn't get to run its usual therapy session. Instead, it sent you out the door with unresolved mental clutter and zero coping skills. Thanks, snooze button. Some therapists now use dream recall as a diagnostic tool. If someone consistently reports no dreaming, it might indicate disrupted REM, underlying stress, or a neurological issue. On the flip side, too much dreaming, especially nightmares, can signal trauma or anxiety disorders. Dreams, it turns out, aren't just side effects. They're symptoms worth tracking. And yes, REM deprivation can affect your creativity too. Artists, writers, and problem solvers often rely on dreams for inspiration, either directly waking from a dream with a story idea or indirectly processing complex thoughts during REM and waking with fresh clarity. Interrupt that pipeline and the well runs dry. No dream, no epiphany. No epiphany, no Netflix pitch. Let's also mention microsleeps, those weird blips of unconsciousness your brain slips into when it's overtired. You're sitting in a meeting, blinking slowly, and suddenly 12 seconds have passed. You might have dreamed during those seconds. Seriously. Some people report brief flashes of imagery or voices during microsleeps. Your brain's sneaky way of saying, I need REM, even if I have to steal it. But what about people who never remember dreams? Are they dream deprived? Not necessarily. Dream recall and REM sleep aren't the same thing. You can be having perfectly normal dreams and just not remembering them. That said, consistently waking up feeling emotionally off, mentally foggy, or wildly uncreative might be a sign that your REM's out of whack, even if you don't know what you're dreaming. So what can you do about it? Start with sleep hygiene. Get enough sleep. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours. Avoid REM disruptors like alcohol or screen time late at night. Keep a regular sleep schedule, and try keeping a dream journal by your bed. Even jotting down fragments helps build awareness and makes your brain more likely to hang onto dreams. Because once your brain knows you're paying attention, the dreams come back, often in force. So tonight, treat your sleep like sacred ground. Give your brain time to dive deep. Let it file away your fears, replay your victories, and stage a few bizarre dramas starring your third-grade teacher and a haunted yogurt container. Skip your REM and you lose more than dreams. You lose clarity, calm, memory, and maybe even a little bit of your creative spark. Dreams aren't downtime, they're prime time. You slip into another dream and something feels monumental. You're watching a parade of moments that don't belong to you, crowds gathered, thunder in the distance, a strange hush before something big, a hand on your shoulder, a voice you can't place saying, "You'll remember this." Then you wake up and realize some people do remember their dreams before they change the world. Welcome to the quiet, often overlooked role of dreams in history's biggest moments. Because while dreams might seem like private, personal flickers of the imagination, they've been credited, rightly or not, with shaping decisions that changed lives, cultures, and even empires. Let's begin with one of the most frequently quoted examples, Abraham Lincoln's dream before his assassination. According to his friend and bodyguard Ward Hill Lamon, Lincoln described a strange dream just days before he was shot. In the dream, he walked through the White House and found mourners gathered around a coffin. When he asked who had died, a guard told him, "The president." Creepy, right? Historians still argue whether Lincoln actually had that dream or whether it was invented posthumously to add drama to the narrative. But either way, it's become part of American dream lore, a tragic vision, a premonition, a ghost story dressed in presidential clothing. And Lincoln wasn't alone. Throughout history, many leaders, artists, and inventors have claimed that dreams guided their actions or revealed truths hidden in waking life. Take Napoleon Bonaparte. According to his own accounts, he had powerful dreams about storms and battles. Ones he believed foretold his rise to power. He wasn't shy about using dreams to justify decisions, either. In an age of omens and superstition, a dream could serve as a kind of divine PR. Or how about Julius Caesar? On the morning of his assassination, his wife Calpurnia reportedly begged him not to go to the Senate. She had a dream in which she saw his statue spouting blood while Romans washed their hands in it. He brushed it off. We all know how that turned out. Again, was the dream real or added later for poetic effect? Historians still debate it, but the idea stuck. Dreams didn't just haunt politicians, they inspired creators too. Mary Shelley famously dreamt of a pale student of unhallowed arts standing beside his monstrous creation and woke up with the idea for Frankenstein. She was 18. That dream changed literary history. Paul McCartney reportedly heard the melody for Yesterday in a dream. He woke up, played it, and initially assumed he must have heard it somewhere else. He hadn't. It became one of the most recorded songs of all time. Dmitri Mendeleev, the man who created the periodic table, claimed that the structure of the elements came to him in a dream after days of frustrated work. He later said, "I saw it in a dream and only had to write it down." Could he have discovered it eventually while awake? Maybe, but his dreaming brain beat him to it. These aren't isolated cases. Throughout history, dreams have been credited with inventions. Elias Howe, who invented the modern sewing machine, dreamt of being attacked by warriors with spears that had holes in the tips. He woke up with the idea for a needle design that revolutionized sewing. Scientific breakthroughs. Niels Bohr, father of quantum theory, reportedly visualized the structure of the atom in a dream. Social change. And of course, we can't talk about dream-driven history without mentioning Martin Luther King Jr. His iconic "I have a dream" speech turned a private, deeply spiritual conviction into a rallying cry that still echoes around the world. While not literally born from sleep, King's dream framed the civil rights movement in a way no policy ever could. It was a vision, not of what was, but what could be. And that's what makes dreams powerful. They bypass logic, ego, and fear. They cut straight to metaphor, to meaning, to possibility. Whether these figures truly dreamt as they claimed or simply used the language of dreaming to shape their message doesn't matter. The point is, they believed dreams mattered, and that belief changed things. Here's a quirky footnote. The ancient Greek philosopher Socrates claimed to have been guided by a divine voice in his dreams, warning him when he was about to make a wrong move. He listened to it, even when it told him to accept his own execution. Across cultures, leaders have slept in sacred spaces, temples, caves, mountaintops, hopping to receive dream revelations. In shamanic traditions, dreams are still treated as legitimate tools for political and spiritual decision-making. If you dream of a snake at your doorstep, that's not just subconscious fluff. It might be a sign of impending change, or danger, or leadership. And here, where modern science tiptoes in with a skeptical flashlight, are these dreams truly prophetic, or are they just emotional echoes magnified by stress and high stakes? Could it be that when you're under intense pressure, your brain churns out vivid dreams, some of which, by sheer coincidence, align with real-world outcomes? Psychologists argue that high emotional states lead to increased dream recall. So if you're about to lead a revolution, perform brain surgery, or invent something history-defining, your dreams might naturally be more intense and more memorable. But here's the deeper truth. Even if dreams don't predict events, they still influence them. A dream can nudge you, remind you, challenge you. It can give form to a feeling you couldn't name while awake. That's not prophecy, that's insight. And that's powerful. So tonight, as you sleep, you might dream of something small, a familiar face, a strange landscape, a sentence that doesn't make sense, or maybe, just maybe, you'll wake with a spark, a whisper of an idea, a gut feeling that the dream meant something. And if it does, write it down, follow it. Maybe it's not just your brain playing games. Maybe it's your future tapping you on the shoulder. After all, history might just start with a nap. You're back in the locker room, again. Except this time the lockers are made of ice, your math test is in Russian, and oh, you're not wearing pants. Again, you know this dream. It's not just familiar, it's on repeat. You wake up thinking, seriously, this one again. Welcome to the irritatingly persistent world of recurring dreams, where your subconscious becomes that one friend who keeps telling the same story at every party. Only instead of politely nodding, you're forced to relive it with varying levels of weirdness. night after night, year after year. But here's the thing, recurring dreams aren't just dream déjà vu. They're often emotionally sticky, charged with something you haven't fully processed. They're like mental post-it notes left by your unconscious, saying, hey, we still need to talk about this. So why do some dreams keep coming back? Let's start with the obvious, unfinished business. A common theory is that recurring dreams reflect unresolved psychological conflict, stress you haven't faced, trauma you've tried to bury, an emotion you keep skipping over in waking life. Your brain doesn't give up easily. It circles back like a relentless GPS, rerouting your mental landscape until you finally get the message. Recurring dreams often revolve around anxiety themes, being chased, falling, forgetting something important, losing control, or everyone's favorite, being unprepared. Forgot your lines, missed the exam, got on the wrong bus to nowhere. Classic recurring content. Historians still argue whether these dreams are built from specific childhood experiences or simply universal anxieties coded into our brains. You're not alone in this. Studies suggest that 60–75% of adults experience at least one recurring dream in their lifetime, and some themes are shockingly consistent across age, gender, and culture. It doesn't matter where you're from, someone else has also dreamed about being late, lost, or pantsless in public. Here's a quirky fact. Some people report having the same recurring dream from childhood well into adulthood, unchanged, untouched by time. A staircase that never ends, a hallway they can't find the exit to, a voice calling from behind a locked door, and the dream always ends the same way, with waking confusion and the haunting feeling that it meant something. Now let's get into lucid interrupting. One of the most powerful tools dreamers can develop is the ability to recognize recurring dreams as they're happening, because that recognition is the perfect doorway into lucidity. If you've had the same dream 10, 20, 100 times, there's a good chance your brain can learn to notice the pattern. And once you're aware, you can intervene, ask questions, change the ending, confront the thing you've been running from. Some therapists even use this as a tool. In cognitive behavioral dream therapy, patients are encouraged to rehearse a new version of a recurring nightmare while awake, rewriting the script to be less frightening or more empowering. Then, when the dream returns, they're mentally prepared to change it. Think of it as a dream sequel with a better director. But not all recurring dreams are nightmares. Some are neutral or even comforting. A garden you return to again and again. A familiar house. A loved one who's passed away, always waiting in the same quiet room. These dreams are often emotional anchors, helping you reconnect with something you've lost or need to be reminded of. And then there are the truly weird recurring dreams, the abstract ones, the ones where you're peeling wallpaper endlessly, or stuck in a revolving door, or trying to speak but your mouth is full of marbles. What do they mean? Maybe nothing. Or maybe your brain is using metaphor to express what your waking self can't quite articulate. The teeth falling out dream. It pops up so often it deserves its own fan club. Psychologists usually link it to feelings of powerlessness, fear of aging, or loss of control. But depending on the dreamer's background, it could mean anything from job stress to worries about appearance. Context is everything. And that's the trick with recurring dreams. They often feel urgent, meaningful, symbolic, but they don't come with subtitles. You have to dig. So how do you break a recurring dream cycle, if you want to? Track it, keep a dream journal. Recurring dreams thrive on vagueness. The more you record, the more patterns you'll spot. Find the emotion. Forget the weird details. Ask how the dream felt. What's the dominant emotion? That's usually the clue. Change the script. While awake, imagine a different ending. If you're always running, try turning around. If you're always lost, imagine asking for directions. Talk about it. Sometimes just telling someone about a recurring dream helps your brain process the emotion behind it. Saying it out loud changes the dream's power. And sometimes the dream just goes away, quietly, like it finished its job. Here's a fringe tidbit. Some dream researchers believe recurring dreams may not just reflect personal issues, but broader collective patterns. As in, human beings are wired to dream about certain fears or themes, and your recurring dream is one node in a much larger web. You're not just working through your stuff, you're swimming in the deeper currents of the species. Poetic, yes. Provable, not yet. But the idea that your recurring dream might connect you to others is strangely comforting. Somewhere out there, someone else is also in that hallway, searching for the same impossible door. So tonight, if your dream hits rewind and sends you back to that same strange setting again, don't roll your eyes. Lean in, look around. What changed? What stayed the same? What's the feeling you've been trying to ignore? Maybe it's not a glitch. Maybe it's a message on repeat. And maybe, just maybe, this time you'll find the door. You're lying in bed, eyes closed, already halfway to sleep, whispering to yourself, "Tonight I want to dream of the ocean." You picture waves, the smell of salt, the sound of gulls, and you hope that somehow your dreaming brain gets the memo. This quiet ritual you've just performed, it has a name. It's called dream incubation, and humans have been doing it on purpose for thousands of years. At its core, dream incubation is the practice of planting a seed in your mind before sleep. A question, a theme, a goal, something you hope your dreams will water, grow, and, if you're lucky, answer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it gets weird, but it's always a fascinating experiment in how much influence we really have over our unconscious narratives. Let's start with the history. Ancient civilizations didn't just fall asleep, they prepared for dreams. In ancient Egypt, Greece, and Mesopotamia, people visited dream temples, sleeping in sacred spaces in hopes of receiving visions. This wasn't random snoozing, it was strategic. They fasted, bathed, meditated, prayed. Dreaming wasn't a passive event, it was a quest. The ancient Greeks called it incubation, from the Latin incubare, meaning to lie upon or to sleep in a sacred place. In the temples of Asclepius, the god of healing, pilgrims would rest on stone beds called klini. Hopping the god would visit them in a dream and offer healing guidance. Sometimes this came as a vision, other times as a symbolic drama the dreamer had to interpret. Historians still argue whether these ancient dreamers truly believed the gods visited them, or if the rituals simply heightened their awareness, making certain dreams more vivid and meaningful. Either way, the method, focus plus intention plus rest, remains the blueprint for dream incubation today. And yes, it still works. Modern dream researchers have recreated dream incubation in controlled experiments. In one study, participants were asked to think intensely about a specific problem before bed, say, a design challenge or creative block. Around 1/3 reported dreaming about the problem, and some woke with usable solutions. Your brain, it turns out, loves to noodle on puzzles while you're off duty. Even weirder, one MIT project had volunteers fall asleep wearing a device that tracked sleep stages and played targeted prompts during light sleep. Phrases like, "Remember to think of a tree." When woken, many subjects reported dreams involving trees, forests, or planting. Not proof of mind control, but a clear nudge in the right direction. So how do you try this? It's surprisingly simple. Set a clear intention before bed. Keep it specific but flexible. I want to dream of my grandmother's house, or I want insight about my anxiety. Don't demand a screenplay, just a direction. Engage your senses. Think about what you want to dream of as vividly as possible. What does it look like, sound like, feel like? Your brain loves rich input. Write it down, in a journal or even a sticky note by your bed. It makes the goal feel real and primes your subconscious. Keep a dream journal within reach. The more seriously you treat your dreams, the more your brain does too. Be patient. It might not work on the first night or the second, but over time, your dreaming mind may start to respond. Here's a quirky tidbit. Dream incubation isn't just for fun. Some psychologists use it as a tool for processing trauma or grief. A person might set the intention to reconnect with a lost loved one in a dream, not as a literal ghostly visit, but as an emotional metaphor their brain can engage with safely. And for many, it brings real comfort. In fact, dream incubation is a foundational practice in Jungian therapy, where the dreamer actively collaborates with their unconscious through nightly intention setting. The goal? To explore the self in dialogue, not in domination. And yes, you can incubate lucid dreams too. One popular technique is called mild, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. Before bed, you repeat a phrase like, "Next time I'm dreaming, I'll remember I'm dreaming." Pair that with a few mental replays of recent dreams, and you might just spark awareness mid-dream. It's like leaving breadcrumbs for your future self. Here, where things get stranger, dream incubation might not be limited to sleep. Some lucid dreamers report experiencing waking dream bleed, **a dreamy state during meditation, hypnagogia, or even daydreaming, where the brain starts to slide into a dreamlike narrative. By using the same intention-setting techniques in these states, some claim they can carry themes across states of consciousness, like crafting a dream playlist across waking and sleeping worlds. Skeptical? Fair. But consider this. Your brain doesn't fully wall off the dream world. The edges blur. If you go to sleep thinking about a lost friend and then dream about a crowded train station where someone watches you from behind a glass wall, was that random or a veiled response? Dreams love symbolic language. They won't hand you a spreadsheet or a TED Talk, but they'll offer a metaphor, a scene, a feeling. And if you're paying attention, that might be all you need. So yes, you can plant a seed in your dreams. You can ask a question, call out to a memory, even invite a setting. Will the dream show up as requested? Not always, but dreams have a way of responding when they know you're listening. Tonight, as you settle into sleep, try it. Think of something or someone you want to meet in that strange middle place. Whisper it like a secret. Trust that your dreaming mind will hear it. You may not get the answer you expected, but you might get the one you need. You drift into sleep with a question in your chest. What comes next? Not just in your dream, but in life, in the world, in medicine, in tech, in the mysteries of your own mind. Could your dreams one day predict an illness, solve a problem, offer a glimpse of the future, not just metaphorically, but literally? Tonight, we peer into the dim, flickering corridor of dreams of the future, not just in content, but in potential. Because while dream prophecy belongs mostly to legend and lore, modern science is edging closer to turning dreams into tools for diagnosis, discovery, and maybe even design. Let's start with the easy one. Can dreams predict the future? Short answer, probably not. Long answer, it's complicated. People throughout history have sworn by their precognitive dreams. You've probably had one, waking from a dream that eerily matches something that happens the next day. Maybe it was trivial, maybe it felt cosmic. Either way, it leaves that tingly "wait, what just happened?" feeling. Studies on precognitive dreams often struggle with confirmation bias. You have hundreds of dreams, your brain is a busy place, and sometimes pure coincidence lines one up with a real-world event. You don't remember the 199 dreams that didn't match anything, but that one dream where your best friend called you right after you dreamed about them. That sticks. Historians still argue whether famous prophetic dreams, Lincoln's premonition of his death, or Mark Twain's dream of his brother's coffin, were actual predictions or embroidered memories. Were they real dreams, or dreamlike reconstructions created after the event to give it deeper meaning? So maybe dreams don't tell the future, but what if they can sense it? Let's talk about dreams as early warning systems, especially when it comes to your own body. People with certain health conditions like migraines, seizures, or even diabetes sometimes report dreams that reflect physiological changes before symptoms emerge. Vivid imagery, feelings of unease, repeated motifs, Could your brain be picking up on early signals, internal ones you're not consciously aware of? One case study described a woman whose recurring nightmares involved drowning, shortly before she was diagnosed with sleep apnea, a condition where breathing repeatedly stops during sleep. Once treated, the dreams stopped. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe her brain was using dream imagery to report a body issue the way a smoke alarm warns about fire, loud, strange, and impossible to ignore. Now let's kick it up a notch. What if we could monitor dreams for diagnostic purposes? Neuroscientists are working on that. As we've covered, REM sleep is emotionally loaded. People with PTSD often experience intense, repetitive nightmares. So do those with depression, anxiety, and certain neurodegenerative disorders. Researchers are asking, can the content and frequency of dreams offer insight into mental health? And more boldly, could they help predict the onset of disease? One study tracked dream content in people who later developed Parkinson's disease. Years before motor symptoms appeared, some participants had recurring dreams of aggression or being attacked, sometimes paired with REM sleep behavior disorder, physically acting out their dreams. These early dream changes could offer a long runway for early intervention, if understood correctly. Some researchers now propose integrating dream analysis into AI-driven health tools, where people submit regular dream logs and machine learning scans for red flags. Sound like sci-fi? It is. But so was fMRI once. Here's a quirky fact. During the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, people reported a sharp increase in intense, strange, and pandemic-themed dreams. Dream researchers around the world began collecting data. The findings: dreams became more vivid, emotionally charged, and often featured themes of isolation, contamination, or invisible threats. It was as if the collective unconscious had gone into crisis mode. Our dreams reflected the pulse of global anxiety, suggesting that yes, they mirror society's health too. But what about the flip side? Can we use dreams to generate new ideas for the future? Absolutely. Remember those studies where people dreamed of solutions to creative or technical problems? That's dream-based problem solving, already happening in labs and workshops around the world. Researchers are exploring how guided dreaming, especially targeted dream incubation, could be used to spark innovation. Imagine a designer falling asleep after focusing on a tough project, then waking with a vision, literally, of a new prototype. That's not just poetic, it's actionable. Artists, engineers, writers, and scientists alike have used dreams to sidestep waking limitations. If dreaming bypasses your internal editor, it might just give you a glimpse of the impossible. And with dream recording tech in early stages, remember the fMRI prediction tools. It's not unreasonable to imagine a future where dreams are archived, replayed, or even studied for creative patterns. We might look back at dream logs the way we review brainstorm notes or journal entries, except dream ideas might be stranger and smarter than we ever realized. Here's a fringe tidbit. Some futurists have floated the idea of using shared dream spaces, possibly via virtual reality synced with sleep monitoring, to simulate group dreaming. Not literally plugging into each other's heads, but creating guided, interactive dreamlike environments. Think collaborative dreaming for creative teams. Dream yoga meets the metaverse. Will we ever control dreams completely? Probably not. But we might get better at listening to them and using their insights to shape our lives, our relationships, and our futures. So tonight, as you drift off, remember, your dreams may not predict lottery numbers or warn you of meteor strikes, but they are scanning, processing, testing. Sometimes they're 5 steps ahead of your waking mind. And maybe, just maybe, you'll wake up tomorrow with the solution to something you didn't even know was a problem. The future isn't written yet, but your dreams, they're already rehearsing it. You're standing in front of a mirror, but it's not your face you see, it's a kaleidoscope of every dream you've ever had. The flying ones, the running ones, the ones with no words, just feelings. And as you watch, the question finally comes into focus: are dreams even for anything? After all these drifting nights and surreal detours, we're now face to face with the ultimate puzzle. Do dreams have a purpose, or are they just mental static, a byproduct of sleep, a side quest with no final boss? You've probably asked yourself this before. After waking up from a dream about stealing spaghetti from a talking bear on a bicycle, it's hard not to wonder if your brain is just messing with you. But neuroscience isn't laughing. It's actually deeply divided. And so are philosophers, psychologists, and even evolutionary biologists. Let's start with team randomness. One of the most widely known theories is the activation synthesis model, proposed by researchers Alan Hobson and Robert McCarley in the 1970s. According to them, dreams are the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural activity during REM sleep. Electrical impulses fire. The brain tries to synthesize a narrative. And voila, a dream about pizza, your childhood dentist, and a bear on a tricycle. In this view, dreams aren't for anything. They're just what happens when a storytelling brain gets bored during maintenance. But this theory leaves a lot of questions hanging. If dreams are just noise, why do they often reflect real emotions, recent memories, or long-forgotten fears? Why do we wake from some dreams changed, relieved, shaken, inspired? If your brain's just flipping channels, why do some dreams feel like full-feature films? That's where team meaning steps in. This camp believes dreams serve psychological or evolutionary functions: emotional processing, memory consolidation, problem-solving, threat rehearsal, even self-integration, all of which we've explored across this script. But here's the kicker: these theories aren't mutually exclusive. Your dreams might be doing all these things, sometimes within the same night. Take emotional regulation. REM sleep appears to help us process strong emotions in a low-stress environment. That awkward conversation, that quiet grief, that burst of joy, all get replayed in dreamland with the emotional volume turned down. So you wake up less raw, more ready. What about problem solving? Studies have shown that people who dream about puzzles, tasks, or creative projects often perform better on them the next day. The dream might not give you the answer outright, but it can reshape how you think about the problem, nudging your brain into new perspectives. Even your weirdest dreams, yes, even the one where you married a light bulb, might have more logic under the surface than you think. And let's not ignore the threat simulation theory we covered earlier. Dreams, especially nightmares, might let us safely rehearse danger, running, hiding, confronting. It's evolution's way of practicing the panic response without real consequences. Here's a quirky tidbit. People in more physically dangerous environments, like those living in war zones or high-crime areas, report more frequent and vivid nightmares. Some researchers believe this may actually help them stay mentally alert and emotionally desensitized to stress. Dreams as personal training, possibly. Historians still argue whether dreams were once essential to survival and have since become vestigial, like your appendix, or whether they've evolved into new psychological tools, helping us navigate an increasingly complex emotional world. But then there's the bigger question, the one Freud, Jung, and everyone since has danced around. Do dreams mean something? Not just emotionally, not just evolutionarily, but personally. Are your dreams messages, metaphors, guidance? Here, the answer gets hazier. There's no hard science to support dreams as direct messages from your unconscious or the universe, but you might find meaning there anyway, and that meaning matters. The truth is, dreams may not need an external purpose to be valuable. They might not need to prove themselves with data charts and peer-reviewed studies. Sometimes, they simply give you a space to explore, to feel, imagine, remember, or release. A safe, private, wonderfully illogical theater of the self. In that way, dreams are like art. You can't always explain them, but they move you. They reveal parts of you, and they linger. And if you're still hopping for a definitive answer, sorry. The jury is very much still out. Some scientists will say dreams are mental noise. Others call them emotional rehearsals. Spiritual seekers see messages. Artists see inspiration. AI researchers see untapped data. You might just see a flying toaster with your mom's voice, and that's okay. Dreams aren't one size fits all. Maybe their purpose is precisely that, to be fluid, open, personal, to let your mind stretch and play and solve and mourn and create without limits. So tonight, as you finally lay back, the edges of consciousness fraying, know this. Whether your dreams are random bursts of electricity or the deepest signals from your soul, they belong to you. They are yours. Strange, messy, beautiful. You don't have to figure them out. You just have to witness them. And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. Word count, 1095. Wind down, 300 words. Your breath softens. The last dream of the night slips away like mist on a morning lake. You're left with nothing but the soft echo of it, colors you can't name, voices you've never heard, feelings without origin. And yet, you feel full, quiet. Dreams don't always give answers, but they give something else. Space, permission, a mirror that doesn't reflect your face but your being, who you are when the world isn't watching. You don't need to remember every detail. You don't need to decode every symbol. You don't even need to believe that dreams mean anything at all. Just know that every night your brain builds worlds. It listens, it speaks, it plays, it heals. Sometimes it roars with monsters. Sometimes it hums like a lullaby, but always, always it shows up. So the next time you slip under, let it. Let the dream come. Let the image form. Let the weird unfold. Let it pass. Tomorrow you'll wake up, you'll stretch, yawn, maybe remember a piece of a dream, maybe not. But something deep inside will have shifted, even if you never know exactly how. And that is more than enough. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for dreaming.